In 1928, on a trip to New York City, Walt Disney stopped by his friend Carl Stalling, an organist, to help compose a few of his Mickey Mouse shorts, which he was about to find distributors for in New York. During that fateful meeting with Stalling in Kansas City, Stalling came up with the idea of musical novelty cartoons, which later turned into the idea of silly symphonies. The first idea Stalling proposed? Skeletons dancing in a graveyard. The short proved popular in 1929 when it premiered, and was a jumping-off point for Disney and Stalling. In pop culture, the dancing skeletons inspired many, and to this day became a staple cartoon to enjoy when the leaves start turning, the temperature drops, and when Spirit Halloween takes over your favorite defunct department store. But that's for another video. The short really spoke to one, Emil Mondavarius, an Australian entrepreneur, who never felt he could quite fit in. Emil is quoted to have been bullied growing up for always wearing strange outfits, his love for horror cinema, and his interest and knowledge in theme parks. After viewing Silly Symphonies in 1972, Emil studied both the dark arts and history of Halloween and theme parks, where he visited Disneyland 5 times between the years of 1973 to 1978. During this time, he had a basic income from working and owning a used bookstore, specializing in the creepy and classic horror novels. But he also had dreams for something bigger. Emil entertained the idea of owning and operating a theme park in Australia, where there was none to speak of. He had a perfect spot. His tarot deck directed him to the Gold Coast, just outside of Queensland. But in 1981, disaster struck when John Longhurst opened up Dreamworld in that very location. This crushed Mondavarius and sent him into a deep depression. During this depression throughout the 1980s, he entertained more of the idea of wizardry, witchcraft, and anything to do with the spooky. In 1985, he got his light bulb idea and started visiting investors for a theme park on an island outside of Queensland. Many were shocked with the idea, asking Mondavarius how this would ever work, while Dreamworld was open. Mondavarius replied, "It is the exact opposite of Dreamworld. This isn't where you go for dreams to come true. This is where you go to face your fears." With Halloween at an all-time peak in the media in the 1980s, investors gave him a chance, and in 1988, he purchased the land he needed on an island outside of Queensland. Why that particular island? Emil looked for the most haunted location he could for his spooky theme park. And with natives to the island claiming voodoo is still practiced, and rituals dating back to the 10th century being allegedly recorded in their texts, Emil was sold. Emil began construction shortly after the purchase. He gave jobs to many of the island natives, and did his best not to destroy their homes, and promised they will be paid handsomely for having a theme park at their home. All looked well while Emil opened his theme park to the public on April 1st, 1992. Spooky Island was a hit.
Get ready this spring break to face your fears at the all-new Spooky Island Park, just outside of Queensland.
Attracting primarily the spring break crowd every year in Australia, and anyone looking for a fall attraction, Spooky Island managed to hit multiple high points of the year. Initially with private flights and boats bringing the holiday travelers over to the island, in 1994 they acquired their own airline to bring people to and from, Spooky Air. Along with the development of Spooky Island, 3 hotels and multiple restaurants and businesses opened up on the island. But what exactly were attracting the youth to this park? When you land at Spooky Island, you get off the plane and enter the boardwalk area, with large bones arching from the sides as you get the full scope of the park, with its multiple opening day spooky rides and attractions. These attractions included the world-famous Splatterhorn, a water slide where you exit through giant skull eyes based on the Matterhorn at Disney. Cult of Coaster, a steel coaster made by Aerodynamics with a chain lift launch system. Skull Lift, to transport you across the park. Vertebrake, a drop coaster through a human body of bones. Swingers Club, a swing ride with never-before-seen aerodynamics. The park also included various events. The Electrical Torture Parade, it's a dead world after all. Dead Mike's Bar with a Spooky Island disco ball and claw machines with dismembered heads. Regular performances from Sugar Ray. A live show led by Nagu Tuna and Sorkis, talking about the alleged history of Spooky Island, which was cryptic to say the least.
This enchanted island is a thoroughfare in the supernatural realm. For centuries it was home to creatures who lived on the island, undisturbed. But then, 10 years ago, a real Wonderbox antagonized the laser beam by building a theme park here.
This was all topped off by the Kong-shaped head mounted with the Hollywood lettering style of Spooky Island. Built right into the Kong head was a Spooky Castle attraction, which ran briefly from 1992 to 1993. It closed down due to dangerous construction, as the ride featured swinging axes, food attacking the patrons, and dangerous spikes that were made out of real steel. After a college spring breaker fell out of the ride vehicle in 1993 and broke his arm, the ride never reopened. It became a storage facility, and allegedly where they hid an artifact called the Damon-ritis, which told the history of the monsters that inhabited Spooky Island a long time ago, although most believed it to be a prop from the mind of Mondavarius. The park ran eerily undisturbed from 1992 to 2000, when suddenly there was a shift in customer experience. Guests would arrive to the island normal, drunk spring breaker college students, but would leave hostile, sober, and well-behaved. Although this seemed like a dream, many families complained that their son or daughter came back from the park as a different person, which concerned Mondavarius. In 2002, he needed an investigation team to come in and see what in his park was causing this. And there was only one team of mystery solvers he can trust: Mystery Inc. Fred Jones, Daphne Blake, Velma Dinkley, Norval Rogers, and their Great Dane Scooby-Doo made a name for themselves in the early 90s in Coolsville, Ohio, where they started solving mysteries out of high school, for menaces and costumes terrorizing the state. Only in Ohio. After their investigation involving the pop group The Hex Girls gained national attention, Mystery Inc. started to travel internationally to solve the biggest mischief cases that the police simply did not have time for. They were also occasionally joined by Scooby's cousin Scrappy-Doo, who was not even a puppy, but had a gland disorder. Scrappy was fired from the group in 1999 after a urination incident involving Daphne. All of this led to the case of the Luna Ghost in the Wow-O Toy Factory in the year 2000, which nearly killed the entire group. Although the mystery was solved, after Fred took all the credit in the famous Pamela Anderson interview. Yes, Pamela Anderson. The group broke up and went their separate ways. After the breakup, they all went on their different ventures. Fred wrote the New York Times bestseller, Fred on Fred, The Many Faces of Me. Daphne became a black belt. Velma worked for NASA making hydro-powered missile defense systems, and Norval, who owned Scooby, just did whatever Norval and Scooby's do. They said in several interviews that they would never ever get back together, but only 2 years later in 2002, when Mondavarius needed his mystery solved, he needed them back. They caved after a hefty bribe of $10,000 each, air and board, hotel paid, and all you can eat. So what were the results of their investigation into the mystery of Spooky Island? According to several accounts from Velma herself, the team found the most evidence inside the defunct Spooky Castle, one of which was the ominous training video which led them to believe that the staff was brainwashing the patrons.
Hey, sorry, bro.
I will crush your bones into dust!
Let's see how the situation should be handled.
Hey, sorry, bro.
No big whoop, dog. Yo, did you catch that new vid on the box?
True that. I'm up to snizzle on all popular tracks.
Word.
Daphne also found the previously mentioned Damon-ritis and deciphered that there was an upcoming ritual planned, called the Darkopolis Ritual. The ritual would steal the souls from everyone coming to the island, place them in a giant tub of protoplasm, have the ancient monsters that can't be in sunlight use the human body as a host, while a pure soul is used to their leader, so that they can control the population and the world. The pure soul? Scooby. The host? Mondavarius. After intersecting the cult, Mystery Inc. managed to return the souls to the rightful owner and kill the ancient monsters with sunlight via the sweet disco ball. The pure soul of the Great Dane Scooby was saved, and Mondavarius would be arrested for his brainwashing, as the years of dark arts finally caught up to him. Or was it Mondavarius? According to the gang, the Mondavarius in 2002 was discovered to be, and stay with me here, a robot in a mask, being manned by their fired member, Scrappy Doo. Yes, in the year 2000, a year after the firing of Scrappy Doo, he auditioned for an evil elf on the island, but managed to kidnap Mondavarius, keep him in a cellar for 2 years before Norval discovered him, and used his image to run the park, hoping to take over the world, inviting Mystery Inc. to see him take over. Luckily, Mystery Inc. intercepted in time, and Spooky Island was saved. Or that's what they want you to think. It was highly reported that Spooky Island lost a total of $2 million between the years of 1998 to 2002. Mondavarius was in fear of filing bankruptcy and losing his dream. He needed a giant publicity stunt to get back in the news and have new travelers come to his island. Well, what better than making the people believe that the theme park really did have rituals, really did have monsters, and your worst fears can really be in front of you. He needed a reputable team to pull this off, however. In come Mystery Inc., desperate for a comeback. Mystery Inc. swallowed their pride and took the money to fake this incident. There was no guests leaving the park brainwashed, no Daemonitis, no Darkopolis ritual. All a big stunt to not only help Spooky Island, but Mystery Inc., who had a thriving career after this amazing setup. Even Scrappy, who was paid nicely to take the blame, made several appearances on shows like Celebrity Apprentice after this incident. Unfortunately for Spooky Island, this incident only gave a year's spike to the island, and on September 28, 2003, right before Halloween season, Spooky Island closed down for good, and Mondavarius filed for bankruptcy. It's been 20 years since Spooky Island closed down, and with many people nostalgic for the island, nostalgic for the Mystery Inc. days, and nostalgic for Halloween, many wonder if it would work in 2023. Mondavarius has become reclusive since the closure, but if he could pull off one of the greatest publicity stunts of all time, it makes us wonder what amazing things could be hidden in his twisted brain and what Spooky Island could be today.